let me go right to Rick Grenell. Rick, you have said, and I agree with you 100%, this is so dangerous for our country. Putting the politics, well, you can't put the politics aside, but just putting aside even what this would mean for President Trump, and I think it's going to just launch his campaign to another level. But unfortunately, we shouldn't even be there. This should not be happening in the United States of America. We shouldn't be talking about that this has never happened before in history for a reason.
Yeah, look, let's put this in perspective. We have countries around the world who, when they're in power, when a political party is in power, they go and arrest the opposition leader and try to put them in jail, try to do legal action against them to be able to win the next election. It's a power move that we've seen in third world countries over and over and over. I've been at the State Department, Jordan, where we actually condemn this action in other countries. We have done a very good job historically in the United States of calling out third world dictators when they go after their political opponents, when they're in power, by arresting the opposition leader. It has now happened in our country. The ruling party, the Democrats, Joe Biden's party, has arrested the leading, or will arrest, has indicted the leading opposition politician. They are trying to stop this person, Donald Trump, from mounting a campaign against them. This is a power move that goes on over and over and over around the world constantly. And Joe Biden has just taken the Democrats down to the level of a third world dictatorship. This spells disaster for the United States. And I want to be very clear. This is a Pandora's box. I fear what will happen going forward to have retribution or to show people what they can do when they're in power. This is a power move from the ruling party. And I'll finish with this. Shame on the media who for years cheerleaded this situation. They should have been calling it out. The reason why Joe Biden and his party got more aggressive to do this at this point is because they weren't stopped when they did things like sanctuary cities, where they said we're going to have a safe haven of a city for anyone who's going to break federal law. You won't be prosecuted. Come to this city. It's a safe haven. That was an attack on the rule of law. We should have seen it coming.
I want to go back to the phones, and we've got Rick joining us. Art in California on line one. Hey, Art.
Hey, thank you, Jay, Jordan, everyone, for what you guys do. Jordan, I think you mentioned it early on in the program, and that is doesn't this now set, and Rick mentioned it, the precedent. So going forward, this is something that totalitarian Marxist regimes, what they do, they don't like you, now they will use this, which has now been done to Donald Trump, to basically remove. And it's like, where is the end of it? There is no end. It's something that you see, like you said, in third world countries, totalitarian countries, and the rule of law is no longer applied, because instead of being applied and adhered to in the Constitution, they are reading what they want into the law, like what you mentioned about Nancy Pelosi, to mean something else. And so this is something that, don't you think that it now sets the precedent, like you said, going forward, you did this, now we're going to do this to you. And where does that end?
Well, I think, Rick, this is exactly the issue. I mean, I don't want to, I never wanted to say it, but, if this becomes the norm, Republican DAs are going to do the same thing. And you know what? It's not good for our country. Maybe we can get to a moment where we say, this was so wrong, we're not going to let this turn into that. But if it devolves into that, that's what we're going to see. Is run for office, expect to be indicted.
I like the question that the caller just made, which was, where does this end? Where do we go? And for everyone listening to us, I think you can't feel powerless. This is happening to our country, and we no longer live in a country where you get to just listen to the ACLJ and all of the experts and then turn off your radio and hope somebody else does something. If you're listening, you have to do something. You have to get more involved. This is a red alert for Americans who want to save their country.
Well, I think, Rick, this is, I wanted to get into this, and it is a little bit more crass to say, but we have to talk about it, and you just did. the politics of this, I do think that they have made a huge miscalculation here. If you're going to, as you know President Trump well, and anybody who's spent time with President Trump, as I have, you've spent a lot of time, many of us have, you throw him into this kind of situation, he's one of the few who actually can thrive. It's not right. He shouldn't be under this position, but he can thrive in this kind of chaotic situation.
Yeah, and it's because he is a fighter. His whole life, he's always had to fight, even within the billionaire class. They've never really accepted him. They've always been against him. I saw Dana White from the UFC speak about how nobody within the UFC world in the beginning would give them a chance. Everybody said, this is a terrible sport. We're going to get rid of you. We're going to crush you. And yet Donald Trump said, come to my hotels, and always stood by him. And so that loyalty of people that Trump has helped is now coming out. There are so many people that I know that are saying, I don't love the mean tweets. I was thinking of supporting somebody else, but no more. I see what's happening. We have to get behind Donald Trump, because this is what the Democrats will do, Jordan. You hit it on the head. They will do this for every single Republican going forward to keep power. Look what they did to us during COVID. They shut down our economy because they wanted power. These people are power hungry, unchecked by the media. The people of America must rise up. If you are listening to us and you can write a check for $25 to your favorite politician, to someone who's fighting back, to an organization like ACLJ, you must get off the sidelines and get involved right now.
Always, we appreciate your insight here. And no one's got more insight into the Trump world right now, the campaign world of Donald Trump, but also how this impacts our country and how it impacts us around the world. Rick, as always, we appreciate it.